Okay, tonight we're starting a brand new series called Live Radiant. Can you say Live Radiant? Kind of lame with the callback and response tonight. Can you say Live Radiant? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, if you've got notes tonight, something to take notes with, can you give me a crazy, loud, radiant youth, kind, shaboya? That was good. That was good. Okay, hey, on Sunday mornings, starting, well, kind of this past Sunday, but really starting this upcoming Sunday, Pastor Brian is unrolling a brand new series, but it's more than just a set of different sermons, and it's called Live Radiant. Because, do you guys know the name of our youth group? Do you know the name of our church? Yeah. Yes. If our name is Radiant Youth, Radiant Church, then the goal is that we would live up to our name, right? So the question is, what does it mean to live a radiant life? And really, this is the tagline for this series. It's living noticeably different. So write that at the top of your notes, living noticeably different. Because as Christians, if we're doing our job well, that means that we're actually living noticeably different than the average person. Does that make sense? Do you agree with that? That we should be living noticeably different. I talked to some of the guys in your squad up here. Talking about the average person is not necessarily one who acts very kind, but instead the average person just fits into whatever the culture of the group or school is doing. So, okay, what does it mean to be noticeably different? So tonight you guys already talked about it in your squads. What are we talking about? Kindness. Say kindness. One more time. Kindness. Kindness. I believe that kindness is a trait that is evidence that you're a Christ follower. One piece of evidence that you're a Christ follower. You guys ever heard the fruit of the Spirit? You guys ever learn like a song to the fruit of the Spirit? Say it again. What is that? Fruit of the Spirit is like what? Fruit of the Spirit's not a pineapple. It have the Spirit. And what is the next line? Do you learn anything in the song, or just that it's not a pineapple? Okay. Can anyone come up here and list off all the fruits of the Spirit? Grace had it? No. Anyone have it? Josiah, see that? For reals? You want to do it? Come on, give it up for Josiah Lurch, everybody. Back in production booth. Hey, I will give you a hint. Pineapple's not on that list. What do you got? Full list of fruit of the Spirit.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Give it up for Josiah Lurch, everybody. Kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. So think about it for a second. All of those things are evidence that you're a Christ follower. So let me read that list again. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. That's evidence. Those fruit, or that fruit, is evidence that Jesus has taken over your life. Now, we're talking about kindness, leading with kindness. I got to tell you a story. You guys like Steak and Shake at all? Anyone ever been to Steak and Shake? They have one in Iowa City or Coralville. You guys, has anyone actually been there? 2 people, 3 people? What? How many of you guys have never heard of Steak and Shake? Never been there before? Okay. Hey, Steak and Shake is pretty good. Mint Oreo or M&M peanut butter shake? Oh my goodness. Okay. Did any of you come with us to Thrive Conference? It was probably 4 years ago. Did anyone remember Thrive Conference 4 years ago? Okay, a few of you. So before Fall Youth Convention, before we were going to Youth Convention, we were going to something called Thrive Conference in Rockford, Illinois, okay? Pretty cool conference. Now, the first year that Kelly and I were here, leading in Radiant, we took a group of 60 of you guys. We're there for the first session. They have the after party at like 10 o'clock. All of you guys are going crazy on like the bounce houses and the laser tag, and it's crazy. You should go to youth convention, by the way. It's crazy. It's fun, all the stuff. Now, I called Steak and Shake ahead of time. That was close to the place. And I'm like, hey, just so you know, I know that we ended up going there from the conference, getting there within an hour of closing. We got like 50 minutes. But I called them earlier that morning, and I said, hey, we got a group of 50 or so. We're going to be there. I'm just buying them shakes. I'm going to have them all sit down. We're going to make this quick and easy. Is that okay? The manager says, you're all good to go. So after the conference, after the late night hangout deal, I take everybody. We unload the vans. Everybody piles in a Steak and Shake. There are like 2 people on there. And then our whole group is sitting down while I go up to the cash register, Kelly and I, and we order all the shakes, okay? Now, I had a pretty good, connotation of Steak and Shake in my head before because as a kid, we would go there, and they would have, $4 for a burger, fries, and a drink. Love it. But this kind of changed my perspective of Steak and Shake. So, first of all, I get there, and the cashiers seem like they hate their lives. So me, just coming from a Christian conference, I'm filled with joy, right? Praise, we just sang that stuff. And so I'm coming up, and I'm trying to lighten their, be a little lighthearted, and they're not about it. So I order all the shakes. They start bringing them out one by one. I say, hey, as soon as we got all these, we'll be out of here because we still got 20 minutes left till they close at this point. Probably 80% of the shakes had been distributed, but we still got about 6 or 7 students who didn't get their shakes, okay? Any communicator that has a list including 6 or 7 will have to stop because of 6, 7. Bro, okay. So there were about 5 or 8 shakes left to be distributed. And then I see the cashiers stop making shakes. So I kind of put, what do you need and what do you need specifically? I got a list of all that. I'm like, hey, guys, thank you so much. You're doing a great job. Praise, But I still got just the following, and then we'll be out of here. And the cashier is like, I'm not getting you any more shakes. And I'm like, I had the students come up. I'm like, hey, I'm not lying. I'm not trying to get free shakes out of you. Here are the guys that ain't got their shakes. Here's just what they need whenever you got time. And they're like, I'm not giving you any more shakes. You're done. And so there's no arguing with this dude. I tell the students all pile back in the vans. The students were a little bummed. With the leaders, we gave them our shakes. And then Kayla, you guys remember Kayla Johnson? She came up, and she was a student at this point, right? She came up, she got her shake, but she didn't have a straw or a spoon or something. So she came right behind me. She didn't hear what they said prior. She came behind me, and she asked the cashier, hey, can I just have a spoon or a straw? Literally, he's like, I'm not getting you anything else. Get out of here. In that tone of voice. Kayla told me later, she's like, in my past life, my pre-Jesus, I would have slapped that sucker. But she walked out. I left. Both of us were like, our blood was boiling a little bit, right? Let me just tell you the rest of the story just because it's crazy. So we end up going into, this was not on my notes, but this is just a fun story. For those of you who are there, you remember this. This is probably 11 o'clock at this point. We get to the hotel at 11:30. Yeah, hell he knows. We get to the hotel, okay? It's cold out. It's November, and it's snowing. And so everybody piles into the hotel and then into the lobby, right? Nobody's there. It's late. Now, I've learned from this moment that I should be checking into our hotel in advance without any students in case there are any kind of controversy or changes that need to be made. I didn't realize that at the time. So I booked my block of rooms months in advance. I get up to the front. All the students and leaders are waiting to go to bed. They're all talking amongst themselves in the lobby. And I say, hey, reservation, last name Pearson. And they said, yep. And actually the manager, yep, I see your reservation right here. Now about those rooms, we kind of gave your rooms away to a traveling baseball team that's here. So, and we're all out of rooms to begin with, and it's traveling baseball season, so I don't think any other hotels in the city are going to have any rooms. So, sorry. And all the students start to get quiet. And all of a sudden, I start hearing. Their kids are getting out their phones. They're probably texting their parents like, Tony's an idiot. What's going on? And I'm like, and I pull the leaders in. Where's Kelly at? Is Kelly here too? Kelly bursts into tears. She's like, runs outside, right? And I tell all the leaders, get your phones right now, call every hotel that you know of, and ask them if they got rooms. I don't care how expensive it is. We need a place to stay. And then everybody loads up in their van. I'm talking with the manager. Long story short, the manager ends up getting us a hotel spot at this place. It wasn't that sketchy. It wasn't that bad. It was called Motel 6. I'm kidding. No, it was. It's okay. It's okay. Red Roof Inn. It's all right now. Okay. So then we get to this next hotel. I'm not lying here. It's 12:30. I'm done with all of this. But I learned, okay? I need to go in by myself to this next hotel without students to check in and make sure everything's A-okay, right? So that's what we do. We pull up. Everybody's dead tired. Let me go to sleep. I'm in the same boat. But I get in, and I'm checking in the front desk, glass shield right here, the Indian dude manager right in front of me. And, it's just funny just because of the nature of the next conversation. I'm checking in, reservation for Pearson. He says, yes, got your rooms. Everything's all set. Oh, thank you, Jesus. I'm filling out paperwork. Dead quiet in the lobby. 12:30, probably 12:45 at this point. When I'm filling out paperwork, it doesn't end here. I'm like, God, please. Like, I'm at the finish line, but I'm filling out the paperwork. And all of a sudden, I hear a door slam from a room down the hall. All of a sudden, this woman bolts out the hallway, comes down, rushes straight up to the desk, has her room key, throws it against the window, and yells, "My room's on fire!" Indian manager's like, "One moment, please." And he goes out, and he runs with the lady down the hallway. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, God, please, let this be done. Take me now. I'm no joke, though. I had to sit down. Kelly was looking at me. She's texting me. Is everything okay? What's going on? And I'm like, I text her, you don't want to know. They come out 20 minutes later, calmly, and the manager says, let us continue with our paperwork. All that happened was they spilled some water on the outlet or something. There was a spark, and it was no problem. And then we got into our rooms. All of our leaders, except for Bill and Ron, got beds. Everybody else slept on the floor, leader-wise. And that was our night. That was Thrive Conference. Oh, man. We made it. We made it, though. Okay. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. That story was not a part of the plan. Let's go back to Steak and Shake for a second. After that experience at Steak and Shake, I did that. You know, like at the bottom of the receipt, you can like go to the website and do a customer survey. Oh, did I give a customer survey? Yeah. So I got a customer survey. I got a call back from them. I didn't even want to answer it. I had a bitter taste in my mouth from Steak and Shake in general. I'm like, I'm never going here again. Terrible experience, all that stuff. Okay? So let's now think about Chick-fil-A, for example. Hallelujah, huh? You guys love a little Chick-fil-A? Don't you guys love a Chick-fil-A's right at the front of our property that we can go on Wednesday nights? Oh, my gosh. So think about this, for example. Chick-fil-A, people love going to Chick-fil-A. Why? Not just because they got good food. Because, well, when you say thank you, what do they say? My pleasure. Yeah, I wouldn't get none of those my pleasures at Steak and Shake that night. Now, there's a difference between the fast food restaurant that I experienced of Steak and Shake and the fast food experience you'll experience around the country at any Chick-fil-A location, right? They don't just serve good food, but they serve good experience. So that's one thing. If you look at like the About Us page on Chick-fil-A, their website, their mission, their core values, well, really, it's a godly organization, which they have that in their statement. But they're not just serving good food, they're serving a good experience. Now, did you know this? McDonald's, well, when I say McDonald's, you guys have a certain connotation. They may sell some food that people like to eat, may not be good for you, but it's not always the best experience. But in 2017, did you know this? This is very interesting. The average McDonald's store made $2.6 million that year. I have a graphic to show you here. But Chick-fil-A, that same year in 2017, made $4 million that same year. So let me say this again. Do you guys have that in there? That graph? Yeah, okay. So again, 2017, the average McDonald's, which McDonald's makes more revenue like across the board just because they have more locations. But McDonald's made $2.6 million a year. Chick-fil-A made $4 million, and they're closed on Sundays. So 1 out of every 7 days, they're not even open. Prime time, they're closed. Heyo. So let's talk about the business world, for example. Great customer experience is linked to higher sales, more loyalty to the brand, and to the product, okay? So Chick-fil-A, for example, says we want to serve food, but we want a great experience. Why? Because great experience is what makes people come back. It makes people loyal to the product. Now, as Christians, we're not selling a product. We're not selling a brand. We're trying to get people to follow Jesus. Why? Because Jesus is better than anything you can experience in life. And now we sing about it. We talk about it here. But do we live it out when we leave this place? Because when the gospel is presented to people negatively, that's when people are closed off to the product, if you will. That's why they're closed off to Jesus. When we poorly represent who Jesus is and what Christianity is all about, that's when people turn away, right? You guys ever seen those like street evangelists with picket signs saying like you're going to hell? Or like, you're all sinners dying to go. You know what I'm saying? Turn or burn. You guys ever seen those? Okay. They may believe the same message as us, but how they go about it is very different than how we go about it. Why? Because I believe that most people are not open to that kind of evangelistic strategy. You're dying, you're going to hell. No, people aren't listening to that. In other words, people's opinion of Christianity usually starts with how they experience Christians. Let me say it again. People's opinion of Christianity usually starts with how they experience Christians. So here's my question. If you're a Christian in the room, if you say you're a Christian, how are people experiencing you? Not just your friends. Like it's easy to have good experiences with the people you get along with. The average person interacting with you, how do they experience you on a normal day, normal life, in school, at home, in the classroom, on the field? How are they experiencing you? Maybe it's a better question. I want you to write this down. How do people feel after spending time with you? Think about it for a second. How do people feel after spending time with you? And really, what I think matters more is outside of this room. When you're spending time with people on a normal day, not in church, not around your church friends, how do people feel after they spend time with you? Do they leave encouraged or drained? Do they feel loved or do they feel hated? Do they feel welcomed or do they feel shunned? How do people feel after spending time with you? We're going to look at Ephesians 4. Paul, this is super good. Paul lists out what prevents us from being kind to people. Because honestly, I know there are a lot of kind people in the room. But at the same time, there are people that really make us upset. really get us frustrated. And what Paul says here is really important. Paul lists out what prevents us from being kind to people. Ephesians 4:31 says, get rid of all, watch this, bitterness first. Bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, slander, as well as all types of evil behavior. Get rid of it, he says. So let's look at this. Bitterness. Well, what'll make you bitter? Number one, I'd say, is by being treated unfairly. You feel like you should have been treated a certain way, and they didn't do that or say that the way that you thought it would go down, so now you're bitter at them, maybe holding a grudge against that person. Rage, the second one. Uncontrollable anger. Maybe for you when you go home, maybe for you it's with your parents, when you're blurting out hateful things to them, or the people that did you wrong. You're going to blurt out things that you'll regret later, but you were feeling it in the moment, and so rage just took over. Harsh words is another one. Speaking words of death over people that you don't like. And honestly, it probably happens more often than not behind their back rather than in front of them. And it's the same behind their back as if it were face to face. How are your words? How are your words when you speak about people behind their back? Harsh words, slander is when saying damaging things about a person's character. When people aren't around, how do you talk about people's character? So get rid of all that, but then he says, verse 32, be kind to each other. Instead, be kind to each other, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God, through Christ, has forgiven you. Close your eyes for a second. For those of you who've accepted Jesus in your life, I want you to think back to that time, maybe for you is that moment where you gave your life to Jesus. Maybe it was at a youth camp, an altar call, at a convention. Maybe it was alone in your room. I want you to think about that moment when you gave your life to Jesus, or the first time you can remember experiencing God's grace in such a significant or heavy way. And I want you to think about, at that time, all of the sin that he forgave you of in that moment. Think about the regrets that you have that God fully knew about. All the things that you've said or done, the intentions you've had, that Jesus in a moment forgave. Now look here. When we think about all God has forgiven us from, it should remind us that we have zero things to hold against people. He's forgiven us of so much. How much more do we need to forgive the people in our lives? One pastor told me this, that it stuck with me. The goal of every Christian is to have thick skin but a soft heart. Thick skin but a soft heart. So thick skin, meaning when someone hurts you, offends you, does something to you, that hurts, that it doesn't hurt you to the point where you start saying, you know what, God, I don't even believe in you anymore. Or where you just start cussing that dude out. Thick skin, but then also at the same time, a soft heart. That when you receive correction from God, when God tells you, hey, this isn't good for you, when your friend tells you, you shouldn't be with them, whenever your parents try to do something to help push you in the right direction, you have a soft heart. Thick skin and a soft heart. Now let me tell you this, in regards to kindness. If I had time to individually encourage so many of you who I know are some of the kindest people I've met, I could go student by student, just how you treat people, how you interact with people. I'm so proud of this room, how kind of people you are. And it's easy to do it here. What I'm more concerned with is when you leave the room. But watch this. Kindness changes the environment around you, but also inside you. Kindness can change the environment around you, but also it can change the environment inside you. Okay, it changes the environment around you. when I was a student, I would come to youth group. To be honest, one of the people I loved to see most was Pastor Nate. Why? Because every time I would come into contact with Pastor Nate, no matter if we were like in the lobby area or we were in the sanctuary or wherever, and he could have been busy talking to other students or doing other things, when he saw me, and he did this with anyone, when he saw me, he lit up, and he'd say my name, and he'd say, "I'm so glad to see you." And I could have been having the worst day ever. But when Nate said, "I'm so glad to see you," it immediately changed the environment inside me and around me. Why? Because Nate would be interacting with all these students. And I would see some students, some of my friends, who would also be having a crappy day. But then whenever they'd interact with them, their mood started to change. And so I noticed that kindness must be a thermostat that changes the temperature of a room. And we should be that thermostat instead of a thermometer. What does a thermometer do? It just reads the temperature in a room. A thermostat sets the temperature. Kindness sets the tone for Jesus to do things that only he can do. For the Holy Spirit to work in your situation in a way that he couldn't have had you just let your heart be hard and your skin to be so thin to where you just start slapping back. What do they? Snap back? Slap back? What do they say? Clap back. Got him. The snack that smiles back. Thank you. You guys know the difference. Okay. Let me read the room for a second. How many of you guys prefer Walmart over Target? A few of you. How many Target over Walmart? The majority. Woo, man. Hey, you guys know what it feels like. Think about this for a second. There is a difference walking into Walmart versus walking into Target. Shout out to Kmart. There's a difference walking in to Walmart versus Target. One of those make you feel like you just went on a mission trip, while the other just makes you feel more bougie. You know what I'm saying? You know which is which. There's a certain connotation that comes from the rooms that you walk in, and I'd say the people that you interact with. There are some people you interact with that they just drain you. They drain the life out of you. There's some people you interact with, they give you life. You love hanging out with them. You could hang out with them every day of the week, and your spiritual bucket will be filled at the end of every day. Goes to kindness. Now, it kindness changes the environment around you and inside you. I would say that others will see that you're noticeably different when you lead with kindness. So what part of your life, listen here, what part of your life is it the hardest to be kind? Okay, and usually that has to deal with, like, who are you around that it's really difficult for you to be nice or kind to? Who is that? What does that look like? And how could you implement leading with kindness in that situation? I don't know if you realize, even Jesus asks us, and this is difficult, Jesus asks us to love our enemies, pray for those who persecute you. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. This is very countercultural. Think about this. If you actually did this, people would notice. If you loved people that you didn't like or get along with, and actually prayed for those that you gossiped about, people would notice a change in your life. Here's how I'm going to end. I would argue that showing kindness to someone, a act of kindness, can make someone's day. You guys ever had that day where, like, it starts off kind of not so good for whatever reason, right? We had a day recently. Okay, sorry, story time. Kelly and I, in our master bedroom, we don't have what's known as a double vanity, which means it's two sinks back to back. We just got one, and it's really small. And so Kelly always has her curling iron down on there, right? And one of these days, she was curling her hair, and like we were trying to do like the back and forth. Like I wash my hands, brush my teeth, or whatever. She gets in curling her hair. It's like one of these back and forth things. And then all of a sudden, she bumped me with this scalding hot curling iron right to the forehead. And it made me want to just, I don't know. It hurt. Those things stinking hurt. But you ever have one of those days, right, where it's like you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, it's not going well. But then all of a sudden, someone does something nice to you, or maybe like goes out of their way and like encourages you, says something very specific to you, and it makes your day. You guys ever have one of those moments where someone has made your day? That's my challenge tonight. Now, I was thinking about stories, and I couldn't help but find there's a story on TikTok I want you to hear from a Starbucks barista, something cool that happened. Check it out.
Okay, TikTok, I need your help. I'm hoping that this person is on TikTok. Might be far-fetched, but if it finds her, it finds her. I work at Starbucks part-time. I just got off a shift. I go in at 4 a.m. most of the time, and I don't get off till 9:30 or 10 o'clock. I'm okay with that. I love that job. I love that job. I am a morning person. I'm peppy as crap. I'm loud and I'm proud, and we love it. This morning I was loud and proud and peppy, and a woman came in. I could tell she was kind of struggling, and I was like, a little extra pep in our step today. We got to get her smiling. So we did, and a couple minutes later, she came in and she gave my manager a note and asked her to hand it to me. And so I was like, okay. It says, I travel a lot for work. That usually means late nights and very early mornings. I haven't had to travel to Little Rock in 6 months until this week. I've been here for 2 days, and so far you have been the only person I have encountered that has been genuinely kind. You were the first face I saw this morning, and you really brightened my day. I'm sure you are exhausted because life, right? That's all of us, but you deserve to know you made a difference in someone's day-to-day just by being kind. I'm also willing to bet you have a great sense of humor. Who doesn't appreciate that? I hope you have the very best day. I know I will, thanks to you. Treat yourself to something nice. I can tell you deserve it. Maybe just not coffee, haha. Sincerely, the groggy woman at 5 a.m. Do good in this world, and it will always come back to you. If you are that lady, this is my first Mother's Day without my mom. She passed in June. I have the Starbucks job on top of my full-time job because I have a lot of bills to pay and a lot of debt that I have inherited to get under control. And I would be lying to you if I told you that I was not dreading Mother's Day. And so I decided that I was going to buy the urn that I have been looking at and bring my mom home for Mother's Day. And I had no idea how I was going to afford it. But the $200 you put in that note today allows me to spend Mother's Day with my mom. And I appreciate you so much for that. So if you're out there and if you're on TikTok, thank you for the impact that you made on my life. And I hope that you see this and know that you did something that I will never forget. So thank you.
You never know. Yeah, that's cool. You never know what a random act of kindness can do for someone's life. You never know what a random act of kindness can do for someone's life. Not just their day, but their life. When I was in college in Missouri, there's a 3-bedroom apartment that we had on campus, 2 guys in each room, so 6 of us total. The 6 of us got together one night in our living room, and we were just like talking about our stories, like how we grew up and all that kind of stuff. And these were some of like the nicest guys that I had met. We had Tim the Texan with the Southern accent. Hallelujah. We had a lot of these guys. They would make my day just because they were very kind and nice. Now, they started talking about their stories, and every single one of them, and I didn't know this at the time, we just started to be more vulnerable with each other, issues and struggles. And then each one of them talked about how they had moments or periods where they were suicidal. And all of them had different moments where they attempted to take their life. But in every one of their moments, God stopped them, and all of them were in very significant ways. And I was just so, I was just reminded, because right after that moment, they all shared that. Right out immediately, if you guys ever been in an encouragement circle with us, we started just speaking life over every single one of them. And there were tears, there was laughter. We stayed up for hours just encouraging each other and speaking life. And all the guys were like, we needed this. Like, I've never had a moment where I felt so encouraged. You never know what a random act of kindness. So for those guys, just sharing those words of encouragement over them, they said was very impactful to their life, not just their day. So here's the prayer I want us to pray. Every day for the next 7 days, what we're leading with kindness, here's the prayer. God, how can I make someone's day today? God, how can I make someone's day today? One easy way to remember the random act of kindness, I got this from the movie Evan Almighty. I don't know if you guys ever, with Steve Carell. They give an acronym that's ARK. ARK stands for ARK, right? Noah's Ark. And it stands for Act of Random Kindness. Okay, so write that down in your notes. ARK, Act of Random Kindness. So again, here's the challenge for you. Every day, for the next 7 days, you can even, including tonight, who is someone you can go out of the way to show some kindness to? That's one option. The second option is, when you're going through your day, look for the moments to slow down and invest into someone's life. You guys ever seen those things like the Starbucks train where you keep paying for the person behind you kind of thing? And it gets to a point where like someone just has to take the blessing and not pay for the person behind them, you know? That would be an example of just an act of random kindness, right? It's something easy, something doesn't cost very much, an act of random kindness. Now, close your eyes with me as we close. Close your eyes with me. And I'm going to pray this prayer, and I want you to try to clear your mind as much as possible. And I'm going to pray that God would give either one person or multiple people, He would bring people to mind of who you need to intentionally be kind to this week. So, God, I pray for all of us, especially for the people that we don't get along with. God, I pray this would be a week where we're intentionally kind to them. Maybe we forgive them. Maybe we surrender our bitterness, our rage, resentment that we have towards them. And God, I pray that we would show a random act of kindness. God, I pray that every day this week, would we notice the moments to slow down and make someone's day like you just like that story that we just heard about from that Starbucks barista. We never know what a random act of kindness could do for someone. So Lord, I pray you'd reveal those moments to us, and will we take advantage of it? In Jesus' name. And everybody said? Amen. Hey, I'm excited to hear next week how, in the empowered story, I want to hear some testimonies. So love you guys. Have a good week. We will see you Sunday or Wednesday.
Hey, look, they were going on.